Yeah. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to this speech. I'm going to talk about security and about security in Alfresco, security best practices. I want to start with a bit disclaimer. I'm about my English. I'm Spanish, and my English is like my country. It's like Spain. My English needs a rescue. But I have a lot of slides, plenty of text. If you cannot understand me, you can read. Okay? And sorry in advance about that. Throughout this session, I will be covering some checklist about how to be our information more safe in Alfresco. It's just a checklist, and could be different between deployments, but could be used as just as tips and tricks about security to learn how to gain more control about Alfresco. Well, who I am? I'm senior solution engineer in Alfresco, working for Iberia, Spain and Portugal, working in Alfresco projects for 5 years, almost 3 years in the Alfresco team, and I have been always involved in security, operating system, open source, network, since 13 years. I've been working as consultant, auditor, doing some penetration tests, ethical hacking, these kinds of things, and writing about that, about open source security and Alfresco since 2002. Okay. This presentation has 2 parts. The first one is about this checklist, and the second is a demo. I'm going to show you how dangerous could be not to have control on the contents itself, with the metadata of the contents, if we are going to publish the content to a web page or a portal, etc. In terms of contents like documents, Office documents, PDFs, images, etc. Yes, the first topics that we are going to cover is about the whole platform, and the second one is about metadata and just security on metadata. Okay. Well, how many of you has Alfresco, the backup strategy and recovery strategy of Alfresco in your security plan of your company? Good. Yes, it's less than 50%, but it's very important to add not only the backup of Alfresco to our recovery plan, or to our strategy and security plan, but our recovery task and scripts, etc., the procedure to recover Alfresco is very, very important. At the end of the day, the most important thing is to have our content in a safe place and to reduce the mean time to repair and this kind of standards in terms of security, in terms of availability. Now we will talk about project lifecycle and how security must be considered in these kind of things. When we are going to start a project with Alfresco, it's likely to wonder what we are going to secure. It depends. It depends of the particular needs of the project, the number of interfaces that we are going to use, if we are going to give a service for end users, for example, using Alfresco Share, or using just Alfresco headless repository for third-party applications, depending on the kind of customization that we are going to do in Alfresco, if this customization just based on data model or Alfresco Share, etc., or depending of the architecture, if we need to use high availability systems, load balancers, firewalls, etc. The number of components, basically. For example, it's not the same to enforce or to secure an environment with a single server with Alfresco, like the diagram A, or cluster, high availability, redundant architecture like diagram B. We have to bear in mind front ends, load balancers, number of ports open, traffic, inbound traffic, outbound traffic is quite different. Okay, now let's start with the best practices during the installation process. Unlike the tuning for an application, which is usually at the end of the installation or before starting production, the security could be the security task could be done during the installation, planning installation, and after the installation. We can start, for example, with installing Alfresco as non-root user, and then configure all ports beyond 2024. And for example, we are using Red Hat or Red Hat-like operating systems, we can use IP tables with redirect to redirect to the standard ports. Or if we are going to install Alfresco to Debian or Ubuntu's operating systems, we can use authbind to get this port listening under the privileged ports. Of course, this is very common, but avoid to use default password, not just for the administrator, admin, but for the database access and for GMX access. How many of you have changed the credential for GMX? It's very easy to access to a server through GMX, you know, with JConsole or any other applications, or even through command line. Take care with your GMX credentials. It's very important to be safe or to close these ports. We are going to see what number of ports are we are using for GMX later on. Change default certificates and keys for Solar is very easy. It's just read the create SSL key store txt and follow the steps, or even set your own certificates. It's very, very easy. And you can spend 20 minutes and have security in the traffic between the repository and the index server. And of course, set the right permissions to the configuration files, content store, indexes, and logs. In Unix or Linux, we can set to the Alfresco user, for instance, the install root, or avoid reading these contents to any other user different to Alfresco. Okay, are very easy commands, are very well-known commands, but important to bear in mind. I always recommend to use Alfresco environment validation tool. I'm not sure if it is supported in the last version of Alfresco, but it's very useful because we can avoid to use conflictive services, ports, or even for tuning, like file descriptors, etc. Keep SSL active when possible. Always, almost everything in Alfresco could be changed to SSL. And for the end user side, for the access to end users, it's important to have good certificates, valid certificates, avoid using the default ones, and test your certificate strength with sslabs.com. Could be very interesting. You can see how secure is your certificate in terms of standard and when you work with the end users and with their browsers. Use Apache or any other front-end web server to protect your application server. Maybe it could be a good idea to use SE Linux with the Alfresco repository server. If you take a look to the Alfresco script for starting and stopping Alfresco, the SE is disabled in that script, but Alfresco is going to work with SE enabled. And we are going to prevent some access to some files, directories, in case of vulnerabilities. Run a bundle installer could be any other good idea to avoid any third-party binaries controlled by rootkits. For example, in Red Hat-like operating systems, we can use the command rpm to check if any binary has been modified from the installation, because rpm has its own MD5 checksum database. Okay, it could be interesting. And of course, to check often if we have image magic or this kind of package with some vulnerabilities. Okay. Okay, let's speak about some tasks after the installation. The first one could be what number of ports we have to open or we have to close for inbound or outbound traffic. We have here a list of the common ports used by Alfresco by default. In this case, with Tomcat, and some comments. It's very important to open just the ports that we are going to use, of course. And the outbound ports. I think the inbound port is useful because we are going to offer a service. But the outbound port is even more important because we can prevent if someone add a backdoor in our servers or open a specific port doing something, we can prevent this kind of traffic going out from our server. And this is a list of well-known ports by default in Alfresco. And if we use Facebook, publishing, Twitter, the publishing framework of Alfresco, we should open this traffic and also target servers or replication or cloud sync. Okay, and for example, we have to bear in mind the standard protocols like DNS, etc. A good example of how to control this kind of things in our server is always to control what number of ports are listening in our server and the traffic that our server is generating. And for example, in Linux, we can use the command netstat to see what ports are listening our server, or even in Windows with netstat and find string command and the port number, we can monitorizing what number of ports are open and what our server are doing in a moment. To activate SSL for all servers is mandatory or should be mandatory. For example, for HTTP traffic, the better recommendation could be to add an appliance supporting SSL offloading. Could be the most the fast solution, and or activate HTTPS within Apache is very easy, or Internet Information Server, or activate SSL in Tomcat or the application server. In case of FTP, it's very easy with the out-of-the-box product. Check the official documentation because it's very well explained on that. Check SharePoint. To enable SharePoint SSL is also mandatory because we will avoid doing some tricks in the Alfresco, in the Windows workstation. The default access from Windows 7, Windows XP is Windows Vista and Windows 7 is to access SharePoint server, but only allowed accessing through SSL. And then if we have Alfresco by default with SharePoint running, this SharePoint server this is running in Jetty, embedded in Alfresco. This Jetty is not working on SSL by default. And then we have to modify the Windows registry in order to get this thing working. And then if we add SSL to our SharePoint server within Alfresco, we will be solving some issues with the users. SMTP SSL could be configured with inbound and outbound traffic. With inbound is when Alfresco is getting emails and classifying this attachment, etc. And outbound is when Alfresco connect to an MTA to send emails. We can secure both traffic, inbound and outbound. In case of IMAP, we can enable SSL with Gmail. Gmail is the code we are based to implement IMAP in Alfresco, or even we can use stunnel or Perdition is a proxy SSL for IMAP. Okay, it's very easy to install and configure. And for JGroups, we can use a proxy internally in JGroups or stunnel. But in some cases, we don't need to secure the JGroups group traffic because it's commonly could be direct traffic between servers and is over control. Okay. How to redirect ports? For an example for FTP, but there is a lot of documentation in the wiki and also in the official documentation of Alfresco docs.alfresco.com. How to change GMX credentials and roles, how to have the control of your logs. This is in Spanish, but you can use Google Translator. Other post-install configuration is to encrypt communication between Alfresco and your authentication service or your single sign-on system, because if we are doing a lot of things to have secure our Alfresco, but the traffic between Alfresco and LDAP server is in clear text, we are doing a poor work. And always use transfer service between on-premise Alfresco installation with HTTPS, and of course we can disable unneeded services like FTP, SIFs, whatever. Okay. The backup configuration sequence. Just to bear in mind that the backup of Lucene is at 2 a.m. The backup of Solar, if we choose to use Solar in version 4, is 2 a.m. for Alfresco core and 4 a.m. for archive core. Okay, and then doing the backup of database and content store, audit, application, logs, etc. Okay. Could be useful to use LVM snapshot in the world of Unix, Linux, to do backup of the content store. It's very, very fast. And could be also recommendable to use the share import export tool, as it's not a backup tool, but could be interesting for copying or exporting some piece of contents inside Alfresco. Try often to recover your backup. Okay, I have seen a lot of times how do you think that you have your very, very good backup, but you don't know how to recover that. Okay, it's very important to, as a prevention measure, to recover the information. Or even you can use replication enabled to a true for replicate your Alfresco contents to other Alfresco, just for having a recovery plan, for example. How to disable the guest user, if you, for NTLM, for pass-through, for LDAP, or limit number of users, and state of the repository. If we are going to do some changes or in the repository, we can only enable, for example, 3 users, because our Alfresco is an Alfresco headless installation that is going to work with 3 applications. We can add only these 3 application users in the file to protect any other unauthorized access to the repository. We can also, we have the possibility to disable the trash can. Okay. I'm not sure if this is recommendable or not, but we can do. And other maintenance tasks like daily review of logs, audit records if enabled, review of backup, as I said, monthly restoring at least, delete orphan files, log rotation and compression. Alfresco rotate automatically the logs if you use the bundle installation, but you can add some compression to the log rotation of the files, and temporary clean files, cleaning, etc. Well, about monitoring and auditory, there is a lot of tools to monitoring Alfresco. By default, we have a connector for Hyperic, but also we can monitor in real time with JConsole, Visual VM, etc. And with Nagios, or the most famous fork of Nagios is called Isinga, we can have full control of what is happening in Alfresco, not only in terms of services, if some services are enabled or not, like, for example, FTP, application server, etc., but also about free memory, heap memory usage, number of documents in the repository, etc. And graph everything happening in Alfresco in terms of memory or whatever. We can see, for example, in 1 year, how many documents are being added to the repository to know if we are going to use or to need more storage in the near future, for example. That's an example of how to get the number of failures loggings in Alfresco. If we add these values to the auditory, okay, and just with the command card, we can get enable or disable the audit feature in Alfresco, and how to get the number of users that have been logging with some errors. Okay. And finally, other security-related tasks could be the avoid information leaks through metadata. We are going to see a demo about that. just a quick comment about that. In Alfresco, we have the content, and the metadata is inside the Alfresco database, but is this information, the information about the content, is in the Alfresco database, but is always references to one content. But in the real world, the file itself, the content itself, has its own metadata. That is the metadata that Alfresco extracts when we upload contents to Alfresco. We are going to see how to manage this internal metadata of the contents. Okay. Other security-related tasks could be considered using the new type de-encrypted if we need to encrypt some metadata when we extend the Alfresco data model, blocking certain number of blocking the access if certain number of file authentications. We can do that in the LDAP server of the single sign-on system. Change WebDAV visibility route if we need so. Change the session timeout for the different services. As you can see, we can control almost everything in terms of services, ports, etc. in Alfresco. Consider using an antivirus or a network scanner for control the health of the contents that we are uploading to Alfresco. There is an open source project called AlfViral in Google Code to control with a very easy and simple action a folder rule if we upload content to Alfresco to analyze through VirusTotal or to our preferred antivirus any content. It's very useful. For example, if we protect Alfresco with an Apache, with these simple sentences, we can avoid to access to Alfresco shared service or Alfresco web services for share or for Alfresco repository. It's very easy to use the location sentence. Okay, and consider using mod security to, for instance, to limit the file size or intercept some contents or to prevent using Alfresco in other ways. Okay. Okay, let's start with the demo. I'm going to show you how to start doing some attack when we usually when we start doing an auditory. The first or the main task is to gathering information. We can be gathering information doing a port scanner, using, for example, Nmap or Nessus, etc., looking for vulnerabilities in their systems. But we can use any other tools to get this kind of information about resources, network resources, number of users, etc., using just Google, doing some Google hacking, and also with a tool called FOCA, or F-O-C-A. Other tools, very common tools like EXIF tool or Wget. Publishing, we will see how to publish contents from Alfresco to a web page and how to protect Alfresco and protect our content from information leaks and how to clean this information. Okay, well. And then I have some links for these tools. We will see later on. Okay, let's start with the demo. The first thing is we are thinking that I am an attacker and I'm going to start gathering information for many sources. The first could be for Google. And for instance, I can start getting information for the, let's start with the United Nations, for instance. It's very easy. We can use site united-nations.org, file type PDF, and in title, document and see what happens. Great. We have our user, Sean Stanley, aside, and 18 results. And just with a simple search in Google, we get some users. And with these users, we can start doing some dictionary attack or whatever, okay? It's important to control our content. For example, now to celebrate the US elections, we can do some search for the FBI, and we get some results. Hey, D. Washington is an user. Hey. And of course, we are in Germany, in German Federal Police, for example. It works, yeah. We can get some information about some PDFs, and I only doing some search in Google. I'm not attacking anything. Okay? You can be safe. But we have on any other tools like Foca. This is a Spanish development. The application is in English, and this tool is very useful for getting information not only from contents, but from contents and in external resources that we have published in the internet. For example, in our WHOIS information, etc. And it's very easy because we can add new project. For example, the Wanderpolizei. Bundespolizei. The domain is Polizei. We are going to save this to here and create the project. Okay, and just start looking for information in internet, in Google. This more or less the same thing that we did by hand in Google, but getting all these kind of documents, okay, and it's very, very easy. And now we start doing some check or downloading the contents from the web page and starting analyze the metadata. This could take some minutes, but I'm going to avoid that. Just loading the the project that I did yesterday. Okay, and I have everything downloaded already and analyze, extract all metadata. The application is extracting all metadata, and now analyzing the metadata. Ooh, what? We get some information and some documents here. Look at here. We have a report, a summary about number of users. We have some users from the police. Okay. Some standard, but other not standards. And the National Police of Germany. Operating systems, also email addresses in the contents, public contents. No password, phones, no server, emails, software has been used. Very useful if we found some vulnerabilities in this software. We can send some PDFs with embedded bad code. No? Printers, network printers. Folders and network folders. Okay, the results of this example is that the metadata is very important. Not only in in Office or PDF documents that we can get the more information about network and draw a sample network from the scanned documents, but only also for images, for pictures. Okay, I have content here in my desktop, and with the exif tool command, I can extract the information inside the contents. For instance, this is a picture. We can get information about the picture. Well, I can see here iPhone 4S, Apple, when the picture have been done, and geo information of the picture, etc. And also, we can extract more information from that from pictures. For example, I have here. Look at that. This picture I have downloaded from internet. But if I extract the information, I can see. For instance, I can see that this file has a thumbnail image. Well, what is it? I can extract this thumbnail with this command, okay? And let's see this thumbnail, okay? Hey, the thumbnail have more information than the picture itself. And other nice example about that is with my lovely Amy Palumbo. This is the Miss New Jersey 2007. Yes, yes. Okay, Amy, we can see Amy here. She's very nice. And we can extract also the okay, the thumbnail. Okay, let's see. Hey, we can see some other information here. Okay, this kind of information matter. Yeah. And this is very easy. We can use, for instance, this command with Wget for getting all pictures, images from our website with Wget and these flags. And we can download everything from our web page and analyze with Foca or with exif tool. It's very easy. But we can also add some information to images and to create backdoors. If we are the Alfresco administrators, and we publish authoring, we can create web pages inside Alfresco to publish to outside servers, to front-end or Apache server. We can trust in our web designers. But if our web designer can start using and publishing this kind of web pages, this is a standard web page that I have in a demo site. And we have some pictures here and how to get there, interesting places. Well, but if we don't care about that, we can have backdoors in a picture. This is a map PNG. This is this picture here, and we can find some backdoor installed in a PNG file. Look at that. This is the PNG file, and we have a backdoor. It's a web shell inside the metadata of the PNG file. And for instance, I can run and get the list of users in the system. Okay, it's very dangerous. How? Okay, we can add this thing. It's very easy. We can, with Perl and some tools, we can add a web shell PHP to a graph, a PNG file or whatever. And if we trust in our webmasters or anyone working externally for our web pages, designer, etc., they say, okay, put this htaccess file to your image folder. Okay, and done. Okay, okay, but I am a mod security ninja. I have no problem with the contents or with your backdoors, but I can add to my htaccess sec rule engine off to your mod security and disable everything. Then it's not only important to control the metadata, also this kind of contents, .htaccess. Well, if we can see here Alfresco, my Alfresco installation with a project called Project Acme, and this web. The web is here, images, the htaccess. But they send me the contents. I put the contents in Alfresco and just publish. Okay. The map looks like a picture, and I have a replication in the repository. Here in the data dictionary, I have some transfer configured for my front-end web server, okay? And my replication jobs also working here, okay? To the mosaic, we can edit if you want to see. It's a sample for publishing the contents. And okay, how I can prevent that? It's very easy. I have here in my Alfresco server, I create an AMP CMD line action to clean metadata. It's in Google Code or it's open source. Just to clean, using EXIF tool in this case, to clean metadata from the graphic files, from PNG, GPA, etc. And I add some information to the Alfresco Clover properties. File metadata removal command is a shell script, and that shell script, well, I can do that with Java, but I'm not Java developer, but I'm very good shell script developer. Look at that. and just when we apply this rule in Alfresco, we remove all metadata in the file, but not in Alfresco. Okay, we can still writing our rules based on the content metadata in Alfresco, but not inside the content itself. And let's see here in Alfresco how to prevent that. I have a rule here in web. How to clean metadata is everything with PNG image in this case, perform the action clear internal metadata, and remove or add aspect, just to change the status of the content. Enable, save, and also look for htaccess files and move them away the web page. Here, name begins with ht and move to unpublish. Enable, okay, save, and I'm going to apply the rules for this folder and subfolders. And then to republish the content, I'm going to replication jobs. Okay, run job. You can see maybe here. The content is being transferred from the Alfresco to the Apache server. And I don't know if this is already done, but when it finalized, I can reload the picture and just see the picture. Okay, could be take some minutes, but well. Well, we can continue and back to the screen later. This is a collection of links and reference that this kind of tools, Foca exif tool. There is other tools like MetaGoofil that is more or less like Foca but command line. Leaf extractor, showdown, and this proof of concept we have seen how to remove metadata from graphic files, but we can use other applications like batch purifier is $19 to remove metadata from PDF, docs, etc. Conclusions. Okay, working on security could be a nightmare, but there is other people with worse jobs. Okay, it's very important to well, in the world of security, not trust no one, including users. You can trust people, but not users. Never trust users. Nobody cleans documents. Nobody, even the German policy or FBA. We have tools to have our Alfresco secure, and I would like to recommend using Alfresco Security Toolkit as a collection of topics or links, good practices about security. Okay, it's an open project and just a wiki page with links and some other recommendations. Okay, and maybe I have some other ideas, like to do a Bastille Alfresco. It's a script to hardening Alfresco. More documentation about security. Okay, and let me check if this is complete. Yes, and then great. The information is clean. Okay. Okay. Well, any questions?
Wait for the microphone because we're recording the sessions.
You didn't talk really about Java security. Do you have any tips related to that?
About Java security?
Yes.
Well,
do we need to change something in the Java configuration, or?
Not in Java itself. It's more related to services or even the communication. If we are going to use Alfresco share in external server or in a separate tier, we can have control or prevent the man-in-the-middle attack between share or under repository. It's more related to services rather than development security best practices.
I've been doing some hardening myself, and just want to add, you wrote something about URLs and risks on preventing some service access, like /service or other URLs. And we found that in some releases, Alfresco adds new ones, so that you have to take care to update your configurations when you get a new Alfresco release. And so I think. So, for example, you didn't write about /s or /proxy or such URLs, which are also access your backend services.
Yes, using Apache in top of Alfresco, you can prevent that with the.
Yeah, you should prevent all of them. So one thing I would add is that if you write these guides or upgrades, that care should be taken to review the security again after upgrades, because it might open up new holes. So doing it once is not enough. You have to keep doing it for every new release.
Have you any experience in using web application firewall with Alfresco? For example, mod security.
Well, in production, I never seen mod security in production. I have seen in laboratory, but in some cases, it could be very, very useful for having full control of the content, more than not only in the dangerous code, but more for content. But we have to care about that, because mod security, if a bad configuration of mod security could affect to the performance of Alfresco in terms of access time. I didn't see mod security in production, but it's a good idea.
Right, we're out of time, but we've probably got time for one more question if there is one.
In one of your slides, you said timeouts for CIFS.
Mm-hmm.
What is the message? Will a low timeout be the best solution, or what do you think of in points of security?
Well, I don't really know what the message that the user get when this timeout. It's just Alfresco close the CIF session. It's not needed. It's not necessary to kick the user out. It's just from the Alfresco side. Maybe the user could be looking the mapping unit, for example, but not has access in this time for the application to the application. It's just for saving memory, for instance.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.